You're watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin, and I am excited. We have something new we have not had on America Trends since I've been here, that's for sure. So we have two special guests here. We have PR Director of Helen Woodward Animal Center. Her name is Jessica Gercke, and she brought a friend with her named Pecan. Actually, we were just discussing if it's pecan or pecan.
Right, you know, everybody's got a different way to say it. We'll say pecan, just because, yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome Jessica
Thank
and
you
Pecan
so
to America
much.
Trends.
Thank you, we're excited to be here.
And in fact, with another guest, we were just describing, is it niche or niche? And you
right,
know what I mean?
you know
it's
what?
Just
Tomato.
Exactly.
Exactly.
We love you just how you are, Pecan.
Exactly.
And
delicious
so what kind of
one
dog
way or
is
the other.
Pecan?
You know, they say she's a Shepherd Terrier blend. She's an orphan pup, and she's going to be available next week. And she's here to kind of represent the nearly 4,000 animals that go through the doors of Helen Woodward Animal Center every year.
4,000?
Yes.
Wow.
It's amazing. And, you know, that number is definitely up. We keep going up and up. And this year's been kind of a fascinating year because after COVID, the one thing people didn't think about is that when everything kind of closed down, there weren't as many spays and neuters. And so immediately across the country, there were a lot more puppies. And of course, that means a lot more euthanasia. So Helen Woodward reaches out 90% of our animals, actually it's probably somewhere around 95 to 98% of our animals come from rescue facilities all over the world that are overburdened, where there's a lot of euthanasia. And we want to get them out of there and get them here to San Diego.
And get some families to love them.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know what just made me think of this, but there's so many, probably people went out to go look for dogs during that time.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were home. But then they had to go back to work, and then their dogs don't have their
That's exactly right.
lovers anymore.
I know, that's exactly right. And you know, during that time, I felt kind of hopeful about it because, you know, dogs really need that first 3 months with their family to learn all the lessons when they eat, when they go outside, all of those things. So I knew that those dogs would be better trained than the ones that maybe are brought into a house and then just kind of put in the backyard, or, you know, people can only attend to them when they're home.
Yeah.
But you're right. The problem is that all of a sudden, if people this year has been really, 2022 is really challenging as far as inflation and gas prices. And people start immediately looking for where they can cut costs.
And they do, their dogs.
And sometimes a lot of times it ends up being with their pets, which is a shame.
Tell me how Helen Woodward, gosh, she's so cute. Tell me how Helen Woodward Animal Center came to be. Has it always been called that?
So, you know, before it was probably, there was a year or two where it wasn't. It was an animal welfare organization, rescue.
I feel like I remember that name.
Helen Woodward started it. She had 12 acres of land. She loved animals.
Who was she? Oh,
she was a philanthropist and a well-to-do woman who lived in Rancho Santa Fe, and she just really loved animals, and she really wanted to make the world a better place for people and for animals. She knew that as much as we can help animals, they help us too.
Yeah.
So she left the property, and ultimately they named the facility after her. Now we have 14 unique programs. They're all dedicated towards the mission of people helping animals, animals helping people. And it's everything from our adoption center, humane education for kids, as well as pet encounter therapy, where we bring the unconditional love of animals into convalescent centers and hospitals, therapeutic horseback riding. I could go on and on, but lots of programs.
So yeah, I was reading that number 14. So talk to me though, so it's not just dogs,
no,
right?
Well, so we do adoptions with dogs and cats. That's our main adoption. But we have animal ambassadors, our humane education animal ambassadors. There's about 88 of those, all different, beautiful, everything from alpacas to goats to chickens.
Oh yeah, I saw this picture. This is such a
Croak
cute
and
picture.
Cusco, two of my buddies there. And you know, they're humane ambassadors because Helen Woodward, you and I were discussing this, but she really felt that the main way we could change the world for animals was to start with kids. So the two programs she started with were adoptions and humane education. She wanted children to really understand how important these animals were, why we should be kind to them. And she also felt that the minute we learn how important animals are and we treat them kindly, then we'll treat one another kindly too.
Oh God, I love that mission. And you know, we were talking about, because my kids, I was not raised with a lot of animals around, so I have kind of a fear because I didn't at a young age kind of get that comfort level set.
Absolutely.
And the knowledge of how smart they are. And I'm watching these videos on TikTok and Reels of the dogs and cats too, and their relationship, and how they intuitively know things, and they go up and cuddle with the babies, and all these videos that come into my feed that before I probably would have swept away, but they're catching my attention now more.
Yeah.
And you're just so smart. They're so smart.
I know. I was noticing when I was driving over, I said a few things to her and she cocked her head, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a very smart dog. And if her family engages with her, she's going to be amazing. But you're not alone, Mary. I mean, I really think that that is one of the hardest things, is that if people are not raised to learn about how gentle and kind and loving these creatures can be, then there is a bit of a fear factor, because they obviously don't speak our language.
Right.
And so we even have a program at Helen Woodward that I love called Dog Smart, and it's for kids that are afraid of dogs, because I was afraid of dogs when I was growing up. My two dogs, Wilson and Willow, took part in it.
Okay.
And Willow had been...
So you take part in it with your dog?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you don't take a part of it. I brought my dogs to be a part of this program because they're volunteer dogs. So we had kids come, and they would meet my dogs, Willow and Wilson. Willow has passed away since that time, but she had been abused. So she was very sweet, but very scared. So she would tend to back away, tuck her tail, where Wilson, my dog Wilson, was very friendly, wiggled, coming over. And so they would talk to kids about the different behaviors of dogs and which dogs you should approach, and they'd show them the language of dogs and which dog is saying, please come play with me, and which one's saying, I'm scared, please keep your distance. So those types of messages, once kids start learning them, it helps them not be afraid, because they suddenly can speak the language of dogs.
So, it's like you can tell a waggy tail means they're happy, right?
Definitely.
And the licking and the jumping, I mean, that's happy too, right?
Yes.
Or I want attention.
Yes. Well, yes. And jumping, of course, eventually you're supposed to teach dogs not to jump, because it does scare people a lot of times if you come into a house and a dog jumps on you. So there are different, ways that you can do that. You're supposed to, every time a dog jumps on you, you're supposed to back away from the dog so that they kind of like land on their feet and they realize, oh, I can't keep jumping up on the person.
Oh.
So they're all little
You don't
tricks.
yell at them and kick them?
No.
I'm kidding. I don't do that.
No, Mary,
I do not do that. I was thinking of Tom Cruise in Magnolia.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Okay?
no.
He says I'm going to kick those dogs.
Yeah,
okay.
no.
It's no.
No.
I've never
say
done
no,
that.
Tom. No,
Yeah,
Tom.
no, Tom.
Yeah, no,
we
Tom.
don't do that. Is there also training of dogs there that you do?
Well, it's amazing. We have San Diego Pet Training, which is an incredible group. They work with every single animal that comes through our doors. So they meet each one and they do an assessment, and they can find out if a dog has a scare, some fear issues. And then they'll work with our dogs so that they're socialized and they're in a great place by the time they get adopted. San Diego Pet Training also has a program called No Pet Left Behind. So if that pet goes to the home and they're struggling a bit and the pet is not really adapting, Rob will come up and set up a situation where he might be able to come out and help with that dog, because we want to make sure that these dogs, and cats of course, but that they not only get into loving homes, but they have a success for both the dog and the family. We want the families to love it so much that they adopt again and again.
Right, yeah.
So it's really important to our center.
And the animals or the dogs that come to you, are they ones that maybe people find out and they say, we don't know who belongs, this dog doesn't belong to anybody, or maybe they've been badly treated or something, or where do you get them all?
So, it's really interesting because, so I was mentioning that about 90% come from rescue facilities that are overburdened.
Okay,
and sometimes, here's an interesting fact that not a lot of people realize. When a mother dog is pregnant, it's very hard for rescue facilities to take that mother, because those puppies are going to need at least 2 months before they're even available for adoption. So a rescue facility that's small or maybe foster-based.
Why is that? Go back to that.
Because they need to get all their health checks. They need to be spayed, neutered. They need to be vaccinated. There's a lot of health things, and of course they can't get their vaccinations until they're of a certain age.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
So there's a 2-month wait period before they can even go available.
Okay.
So if you have a rescue facility that doesn't have enough room, a lot of times, unfortunately, in certain areas, they will literally euthanize the mother before the babies are even born. So we get calls all the time from rescue facilities saying, we have a pregnant mom, she's beautiful. So the amazing thing...
The litter, how many could they have at one time?
It can be 8 to 10.
Right.
Sometimes it's 3 or 4, but we've seen huge litters, and these are beautiful puppies, healthy, beautiful, and they, a lot of times they're born with us, and then they're fostered and loved. So these are gorgeous creatures that are healthy and wonderful. And so that idea that rescue animals are all broken and old and have problems, a lot of times that's not true. It's just that the ones that are really young, a lot of times never even make it into the shelter system because certain shelters can't take them or take the time or have the finances to help them.
Right.
So Helen Woodward wants to change that.
So yeah, I was going to say, do you have a number one mission What's the number one?
Well, I mean, the mission is people helping animals, animals helping people. Obviously, we have a number of different programs. Some of them are nonprofit, some are for-profit. It's fabulous. Mike Arms, our president, the for-profit programs fund the nonprofit. And that's one of his big things, because if we have a wonderful animal hospital or an equine hospital or a club pet facility where you can leave your pet for a day camp, if that money is going into rescue, is going into pet encounter therapy, it becomes this wonderful organization that isn't constantly struggling, but in fact is profiting to fund these beautiful nonprofit programs.
And animalcenter.com is the
animalcenter.org
is the website.
Yes.
And not only do you work for Helen Woodward, but you also are a theater actress, a theater owner at Backyard Renaissance Theater Company.
Yes.
We're going to bring out your husband, Francis, who is the artistic director, right? And we're going to talk to you all about theater, which is my favorite subject in the world.
Trade puppies for
Trade puppy for dog. Yeah, I mean, for husband, whatever. Same thing. We'll be right back with more America Trends right after this quick break.